What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the program tonight. This is going to be a different type of program. Hey, what's happening? How you doing? Welcome. Tonight on Tyrone Bowman Live, I'm not talking about politics. I'm not talking about the war. I'm not talking about the usual things that are happening and, and going on in the world. In a few moments, I'll introduce my topic that I'm going to be talking about because this is an important topic. I've said before that this channel is a learning channel. It's an informational channel. Over here on this end, I'm trying to awaken the minds of people everywhere, and especially my people, to the point where we understand who we are and what we're supposed to be doing with the short lifespan that we have on this planet. And the topic I'm talking about might not be popular for somebody, and it's okay. It's all good. We can agree to disagree. But in light of what's going on in the world today, what you don't know is what's hurting you. That's what a lot of people just seem to don't understand. What you don't know, what they're hiding from you, what you don't figure out and understand, what we're being fed constantly through the recycled propaganda in the media over and over and over again. Well, tonight, for a few moments, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but for a few moments, I'm just going to talk about it. As I'm getting started, I want to say thank you to everybody who have subscribed to Tyrone Bowman Live. Appreciate it. And I want to give a huge acknowledgement and shout out to the individuals who've been sticking it out with me. I also want to give a great big shout out to everybody who comments in the comment section. I really appreciate the comments, whether they're pro or con, whether they're negative or positive. Dialogue is important. A lot of YouTubers, quote unquote, they can't handle people talking to them. So they turn their comments off because they just want to hear flattering things about themselves. So they turn the comment section off, or they have moderators put in place. On this channel, there are no moderators. Over here, I take it the way it is, because I was raised that way. And I like for people to speak their minds, whether I agree or disagree. Don't you know that's what the First Amendment is about? I can't get to my bag right now, but I have a copy of a Constitution in my bag. But that's what the First Amendment is about, freedom of speech. The very thing that they're trying to take away from people, because they don't want people to speak their minds. Don't you know when you have an independent mind, you can learn? When you have an independent mind, you can grow. So the topic tonight that I'm talking about is the art of self-mastery, empowerment, and the consciousness of money. The art of self-mastery, empowerment, and the consciousness of money. Yep, that'll probably be the last part, but people don't like to talk about money, but they want it. In order to have money, you've got to know how to get money. So I have several books down here that I'm going to show you. I'm just going to recommend for people to read. Some of them I agree with, some of them I don't agree with. But you know what? It's always good to know what your enemies are thinking. Because if you don't know what people are thinking, what you don't know is what can hurt you. Take it from somebody who's been through some great trials and great tests and hellish experiences. I've learned from them. Always know what my enemies are thinking and what they're doing. Don't take anything or anyone lightly. Don't take anything for granted. Question everything, ladies and gentlemen. If they say you ask too many questions, that means it's good for you because you're getting to the point where they're hiding something that they don't want you to know. Ask questions. Demand answers. Don't just take stuff at face value. Make a person prove that what they're saying is true. And if they can't prove it, then something's wrong. by me being a law student and studying to become an attorney for the purpose of becoming a criminal justice advocate, fighting for individuals to preserve their rights, fighting for true victims of crime, fighting for individuals to be able to be heard, especially in the climate that we're living in. You know, many times when I come before the camera, I try not to be too deep and analytical with people. I do a lot of reading from a lot of sources. That's because it's necessary, but I like to break it down. So, the art of self-mastery. The question is, do you know who you are? Most people don't even know who they are. We're not just a name. We're not just a social security number. We're not some abstract thought. We all have a history. That's why it's important to know one's ancestry. Know where you come from. Know who your ancestors are, be they good, bad, or indifferent. Know everything about them. And take the good, take the bad, and get rid of it. It's important to understand the art of self-mastery. That simply means that you are in control of you, not the news media, not the propagandists, not the warmongers, not the divisionists and the dividers in the world who are constantly trying to keep us at each other's throats every time we turn it around. Don't you know one of the greatest tricks of politicians is to keep black and white people at each other's throats 24 hours a day? They love it because it gives them a reason to justify doing the things that they do. And another major trick they like to use is religion. There's a difference between God and religion, a whole difference between the two. The term God means deity. Most people don't even know who the divine deity is because they've been told to believe a certain way, think a certain way, act a certain way, and if you don't do it this way, then you don't mean anything. Look at the religionists in the world. Most of the wars that are being fought, including this one right now, you know what? It's not even what people think it is. There's a lot going on that people are not being told because they don't want people to know. So they mind feed them and they create an idea in people's minds. And when people subscribe to that idea, they don't want to go any further than it. I'm getting back to the political thing, then I'm going to talk about the religion thing in a minute. Politics is a dirty, terrible, hellish game. It's a game of mind chess. It's a game of mind checkers. It's a game of mind monopoly. And the only ones who profit from it are the people who know the rules of engagement. If you don't know the rules of engagement, you don't even know how to play the game. Most people, when they go to the store and buy a game, the first thing they do, they take the rules and they throw them out. Throw them in the trash. I don't need that. That's garbage. You can kind of create your own rules as you go along, but know the foundation of why the rules were written to begin with. Like there are rules for basketball. There are rules for baseball. There are rules for football. There are rules for amateur sports and professional sports. There are rules and laws that govern money. What money is, what money is not, how to make it. But most people don't care because they just see the green and they take it from there. So if you don't understand the rules of engagement, it's hard for people to know how to play the game. Politics is a game. It is a game of thought. It is a game of ideas. It is a game of conquer. And how do you win an election? Tell people that I am your enemy. You know nothing about me. You don't know where I come from. But just look at their skin color and say, based upon that, that is your enemy. those people. So they love to race bait. They do it on both sides. The Democrats do it. The Republicans do it. The Republicans are better at it than the Democrats. The independents do it. So if they can keep people constantly arguing and fussing and cussing and fighting over the issue of race, that's divisiveness, ladies and gentlemen. And that's how they maintain their political leverage. And that's how they have a political job. And that's how they get their agendas across. Pretty soon I'm going to show you a book. I'm going to go to the library and get it. And it is the foundational structure for everything that's going on in the world today. Hitler invented it. And he played it to the hilt. I keep telling people, read Mein Kampf. I've read it 3 times from cover to cover. Every word in between. So I already knew what Project 2025 was. It is an architectural design and framework that has the phraseology of Hitlerism and Nazism just wrapped up in a modern day package. That's all it is. But because people have not studied and read Mein Kampf, they don't know what it is. They should read George Orwell's 1984. People wouldn't read it. They should have read Alexandre Dumas's book, The Count of Monte Cristo. It's about revenge of a fictional character by the name of Edmond Dantes, who was framed by 3 of his so-called friends. Envy, jealousy, and hate. Sent to the Chateau d'If, where he spent 14 years not knowing who he was until he met a priest who helped him to discover how to use his mind power, who helped him to discover who were the culprits behind his incarceration, who helped him to discover the real him. And the story goes on from there. Read the book for yourself. That's one of my favorite books, The Count of Monte Cristo. Movie doesn't really stick to the written narrative of the book. So, the art of self-discovery, knowing who you really are. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, go on a mind pilgrimage. Go on a fact-finding mission. Research your family's past. Just discover who you really are. Who do you come from? How did you get your name? What does your name mean? What is the framework and the structural, architectural design of the family? You know why most people won't do it? Because they're afraid they're going to find something that's going to be revealed that they're not going to like. Truth can be alarming. Truth can be frightening. Truth can cost you so many things. That's why people would rather believe in lies. It doesn't cost you anything to believe a lie. Just simply hear it over and over and over and over again. And the more that they hear it, the more they think it's real, because that's what the political game is about. That's what political ads are about. Manipulation, deception, and control. And whoever is good at it will win the election in the end. These people don't get to where they are by themselves. You look at the politician, but they're not the ones with the power, ladies and gentlemen. The ones with the power are the ones with the money who control the politicians. And they're following the agenda that has been put before them. And if they deviate from it, then they pay the consequences. Do you think billionaires are going to take all their hard-earned money or however they got it and invest it in the individual? Listen, think. Why would a person spend, let's just say, $10 billion to get a job that only pays about $240,000 a year? Because it's about control. It's about power. The art of self-mastery. In order to discover who you really are, you got to go deep within your own mind. Every human being has wisdom and knowledge, but they don't have understanding. Most people just have knowledge, Gnask. The science. When you deal with the word science, Gnask, to know. People have to know who they are. You are not just this. I'm not just my skin color. There's much more to me. The spirit within me is more important than the house that I live in. People have gifts, talents, abilities, all types of knowledge, but most folks don't have wisdom. Just because you have a 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 college degrees and PhDs and masters, that doesn't mean that you're wise. That means you have knowledge. You have to know how to implement and how to use what you have. That's where wisdom comes in at. Application, that's what technical schools are for. It teaches you how to use what you are learning right now. Most people are not told to go to vocational schools. You know why? Because they can learn a craft, they can learn a trade, they can learn a skill that will make them, quote unquote, employable. I'll give an example. As a young boy growing up in the hood, I realized I had the gift to gab. All my brothers were more athletic than me. So I had the gift to gab. I had something they didn't have. They had the athletic prowess. But I learned how to develop my speaking skills by reading and learning without exaggeration. I can tell you right now, before I graduated from high school, I had read every book in my local library. It was a small library, but I read every book. And I had read the Bible 300 times from cover to cover, committed it to memory before I graduated from high school. It's not to boast, to brag. I'm telling you, I was on a quest to learn because I kept asking my mother questions that she could not answer. So I went on a self-discovery of looking and seeking until I found so many answers about so many things. It's called an epiphany. Good evening. You have to awaken to truth, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let somebody just tell you something and you don't research it for yourself. Go on a fact-finding mission. Discover everything you can. Now, keeping what I'm saying, and I kept seeing the radio, I kept hearing the radio announcers, I kept hearing people talk on television. I said, you know what? I'm going to become one of them. The first thing they said, well, you're black. They're not going to let a black man do that. I pay them no mind. Stop listening to negative thinking, speaking, acting, do nothing people always telling you that you're limited from succeeding because of the pigmentation of your skin. That is an outright lie. I said it's an outright lie, ladies and gentlemen. You are not limited unless you allow yourself to be limited. Of course, there are going to be trials and tests and struggles, and you're going to have to fight harder than you've ever fought before because you'll come up against forces that you don't know necessarily what they have, but you can still prevail. You can still overcome it. You can still succeed, even if it's against the odds, which brings me to this. What's the first book? This book right here, Succeeding Against the Odds. I've told people about this book for 4.5 years on this channel. Do people really pay it any mind? No, they do not. Succeeding Against the Odds is the true story that was written by the now deceased John H. Johnson, the founder of Ebony and Jet magazines and the Johnson Publishing Company, the first Black-owned publishing company in America. A young man born in Arkansas. Get a book for yourself. Check it out. Read it. Discover how Mr. Johnson built his empire in a world that was dominated by white people. There were no black-owned publishing companies until John H. Johnson came along. And how did he do it? Well, I'm going to give you the simplified version. You heard about people like Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, um, Earl Nightingale, some of the great mind motivational speakers and people of that nature. In his book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill only talked about the white industrialists and the white entrepreneurs. He never once mentioned John H. Johnson, who was a contemporary of his while he was alive, but he never acknowledged the contributions that John H. Johnson made to humanitarianism, philanthropy, education, and becoming a self-made entrepreneur. And I oftentimes wondered why Napoleon Hill never talked about Black entrepreneurs, because he didn't want to deal with the race issue. That's why. So he ignored it, pretend like it didn't occur, because all his friends that he knew, or that he claimed to know, that he was associated with, they were all racists and bigots. The greatest entrepreneurs of that era and of that time, they were racist. So he just concentrated on the monetary aspect about how they accumulated their wealth. Came the book, Think and Grow Rich. Now, getting back to John H. Johnson. John H. Johnson had a hunger as a young Black man growing up in racist Arkansas. And it's still racist to this day, hasn't changed. See, once you know what you're up against, then you can discover self-mastery to how to overcome it. Racism ain't nothing new. It was here before I came. It'll be here long after I'm going off this earth. It'll be here long after many of you all are off this earth. So we have to prepare the next generation how to use their minds and combat every evil force that comes against them. Because if not, we're going to have a hopeless, pathetic generation of lost young men and women who will give up because things are not handed to them. Everybody's got to fight and scrape and dig and claw. Even entrepreneurs of that time, they still had to fight to get what they had. John H. Johnson went to school, he read, he learned, and he had an idea. The idea was he wanted to build the first Black-owned publishing company in America. And you know what folk told him? You can't do it because you're dark-skinned. You don't have enough money. You don't have the clout. You don't have the connections. Oh, it'll be built someday. Forget someday. Y'all still singing, we shall overcome. We've already overcome. You just don't know it. Stop singing, we shall overcome, and move forward. I mean that. Move forward, ladies and gentlemen. Now check this out. He went to his mother one day, and he asked his mother a question. She's like most Black women of that time. She was a housekeeper, did days work, cleaning, cooking, for the usual people, for white folk, earning basically nothing, working long hours. And she finally saved up enough money to buy furniture for her apartment. And he asked his mother a question. Can I take your furniture and pawn it so I can get $500 as seed money for the publishing company? His mother gave him a straight answer. She said, I don't know about that. She said, I got to pray on it. When mom and them tell you they got to pray on something, that means they want God to get involved before they make that decision. She prayed on it, and she said yes. So he pawned her furniture. This is a true story, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not making this up. Get the book, read it for yourself. That $500 seed investment turned into a $500 million a year empire in Chicago. John H. Johnson built the first Black-owned corporate headquarters debt-free in downtown Chicago. And ultimately, he became so wealthy because what was his vision? The vision was simple. Portray Black people in the most positive light. Focus on the happy side of life instead of everything negative. Born, the first publication was called Negro's Digest. Then they changed it to Ebony. Then they changed it to Jet. Jet was the small version of Ebony. And every Black household that I grew up in, when you walked in, you saw three things. You saw Bible, you saw Jet, and you saw every magazines on the coffee table. They don't have much, coffee tables and houses and stuff anymore because everything is so modernized. And those coffee tables were made from real wood. Today, everything is so flimsy. Even the cars are made from fiber optic plastic. You pay all that money for these vehicles that's not even cast iron, and you can take a hammer or a piece of wood stuff and beat the freaking car up that you got to pay almost $50,000 for. That's crazy. Seriously, that's crazy. I told somebody recently, I said, when I do decide to own a car, I'm getting an old-fashioned cast iron car. I want to keep the body, have it modernized on the inside. I get a cast iron car, and I guarantee if anything hit that, your car will be fine. Their cheap plastic car will be torn up. That's a stipulated fact. That's why they have junk yards. Once you get the car and parts and stuff are messed up, you go. They call them the graveyard. They call them the junkyard. You can go down there and you can find all kinds of parts. And John H. Johnson built his empire. That included a life insurance company, Supreme Life Insurance Company, the company that he worked for and ended up owning it. Don't forget about Fashion Fair and Ebony Cosmetics that his wife founded, because Black people, in the white world of modeling and fashion, they didn't want us there. Thank God for people like Beverly Johnson, who broke the color barrier, and some others. I'm just having a talk tonight, y'all. I don't want to talk about politics tonight. I want to talk about exactly what's on my mind, because I want my audience to be well informed so you can make intelligent decisions on the path to the art of self-discovery. Don't let anybody tell you what you can't do. I need to take a quick break. I apologize, and I'll be right back. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Tyrone Bowman live tonight. The topic is about the art of self-mastery, empowerment, and the consciousness of money. I was talking about Napoleon Hill. I told you about Think and Grow Rich. Here it is right here. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill and the Master Key to Riches. Now, this is what I discovered. And I've read practically every book that Napoleon Hill wrote, including the one talking about outwitting the devil. Now, you should check that book out by Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. So, what do you want most? Quote, that's the question that Napoleon Hill asked. Is it money, fame, power, contentment, personality, peace of mind, happiness? And he had a list of all the great people and the names of all the entrepreneurs of that time. You may agree with me, disagree, but I'm going to read all the names right here. I have nothing but time on my hands tonight, so I'm going to read all the names. John H. Johnson's name is not among the names, and he was a contemporary of Napoleon Hill. Henry Ford, William Wrigley Jr., John Wanamaker, James J. Hill, George S. Parker, E. M. Statler, Henry L. Dougherty, Cyrus H. K. Curtis, George Eastman, Theodore Roosevelt, John W. Davis, Albert Hubbard, Wilbur Wright, William Jennings Bryan, Dr. David Starr Jordan, J. Ogden Armour, Charles N. Schwab, Harris F. Williams, Dr. Frank Gonzalez, Daniel Willard, King Gillette, Ralph A. Weeks, Judge Daniel T. Wright, John D. Rockefeller, Thomas A. Edison, Frank A. Vanderlip, F. W. Woolworth, Colonel Robert A. Dollar, Edward A. Feline, Edward C. Barnes, Honorable Jennings Randolph, Arthur Nash, Arthur Brisbane, Woodrow Wilson, William Howard Taft, Luther Burbank, Edward W. Bach, Frank M. Musi, Albert H. Gray, Dr. Alexander Graham Bell, John H. Patterson, Julius Rosenwald, Stuart Austin Weird, Dr. Frank Crane, George M. Alexander, J.G. Chapline, Clarence Darrow. These are all white men he wrote about. He didn't even write about any successful white women that were entrepreneurs, sexist, somewhat chauvinistic. Now, I've studied the lives of the majority of these white men, and they were racist and bigots and anti-Semitic. But he didn't concentrate on that part of them because he just wanted to talk about how much money they made, success. Notice when you read so-called motivational success books, it's designed to do one thing: to get your mind consciously awakened to the idea of money. That's it. That's all it's designed for. To make you think that if you go and do these things the way they did them, that you could just make money. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can make money, but you're going to go through trials and tests. And these men didn't get to where they got to by themselves. They had help. Everybody needs help. Don't let people tell you that you don't need help. Even with the great entrepreneurs and industrialists in this day and age, the majority of them got help from the government to get to where they are. But they're not going to tell you because they want you to think that they're so smart and they're so intelligent that they did it all on their own. No, everybody needs help. Now back to John H. Johnson. John H. Johnson took that $500 and invested it and built a publishing empire that rivaled Time and all the great white publishing companies of that time, because they were wondering, how did this Negro, as they were called back then, understand the rules of engagement. And how did he build this empire when we had things structured so that in 1945, when he went to go to his local bank and ask for a loan, they said no, because they didn't loan money to colored people, as they were called, black people. The term black came along much later. Don't you know what you think about yourself is more important than what other people think about you? See, I don't let people put negative thoughts and stuff in my mind. What you think about you is more important than what others think about you. Stop asking people what they think. What do you think about your creativity? What do you think about your thoughts and your ideas? What do you think about the gift and the talents and abilities that you have? What do you think about your chances of success in America? Like Tiger Woods. The golf world loves him now, despite whatever personal problems he has, but it was his father who taught him how to play golf on black golf courses back in the day, because the white racist bigoted golf courses, they didn't want anything to do with black people back then. Oh, talk back to me. But once Tiger started succeeding, once his father Albert taught him how to play golf, and you had great black golfers back then, but they didn't get the fame, they didn't get the recognition. One wealthy black man built his own golf course, but that way he said, you know what? That way the black golfers could come to his place and play and don't have to deal with the racism. You know how you deal with racism? Stop patronizing them. That's it. They love your money, but they can't stand you. If you stop patronizing them, they don't have leverage over you. I'm on a quest to do some things. I'm not going to put it all out in the ether, and I'm going to get them done. It's going to benefit a lot of people in the long run, because there's nothing good that I can't have in this life with Almighty God backing me up. Yeah, I said it. I can't do anything without God. I don't know what you all subscribe to, but for me personally, I can't do anything without him. Do I always get it right? No. Do I always say the right things out of my mouth? No, but I know I have a pure heart. And I'm not trying to live a flawless, perfect life. That's what religion does. Religion will turn you into a hypocrite. It will break you down to the point, if you think wrong, if you say something wrong, if you do something wrong, the first thing they want to do is damn you to hell. On your way to hell, make sure you give your money to our organization, because you're going to burn throughout eternity anyway, so you might as well give us the money. And religion will destroy you. As I said earlier, there's a differentiation between having a relationship with a divine deity and being indoctrinated into a religious cultist way of thinking and indoctrination. Hey, Frank, it's happening. Don't let the religionists tell you how to believe and how to worship and how to pray. Get to know God for yourself. But most people, they don't want to do that, because they bought into the Americana version, quote unquote, of so-called Christianity, until anything outside of that mold, they call it blasphemous, they call it heathenistic, and they say, oh, you're on your way to hell. That's the thesis. That's the thesis they're always espousing. Well, if that's the case, where are all these religious hypocritical leaders going who get caught in all these type of ungodly, adulterous, dirty, nasty things? Where do they think they're going? Oh, touch not mine anointed. They're quick to yes, thank God for Apostle William J. Seymour, and they wrote him out of history. The white racists wrote him out of history and don't even want to give him credit for the Azusa revival that occurred for over 3 years in California. They just call him William Seymour. No, he's the chief apostle, William J. Seymour, because he came from all over the country to California to find out what this ex-slave who was blind in one eye, who prayed with his head in a box, in a crate. And once they came and found out all the great things that he was doing, how can we take it from him? How can we steal it? Read the book by Frank Bartleman, a journalist from the university, from Temple University, who chronicled everything that happened at the Azusa Street revival. All your major Pentecostal denominations come from Azusa Street. I don't care what they say, the Assemblies of God, the Worldwide Apostolics, etc., blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. It all comes from there. I know what I'm talking about because I have lived this life, ladies and gentlemen. I have lived it. I didn't read it in a book. I used to be a strict Pentecostalist. Not anymore, because I found out the deceit and the hypocrisy that they live by. So I don't subscribe to that way of thinking anymore. We were raised up as deep Baptists, and I'll get into that in another conversation. So when I talk about scripture, I'm not just flippantly speaking out of my mouth. I know exactly what I'm saying. And that's why I'm encouraging you to develop a real, genuine, authentic relationship with Almighty God, absent of your preacher, absent of your bishop, absent of your apostle. Come to know God for yourself. Self-discovery, self-mastery. Because if you ever discover who you really are as a spirit being, you will never become nomadically enslaved to religion ever again. And the religious leaders know this. But they don't want you to know it. Because they want your tithes and your offerings, and they want your servitude, and they want you to do whatever they say, and then damn you to hell if you don't do it. Newsflash, every human being has weaknesses. Every human being has flaws. Every spiritual leader has them, but they don't want you to know about it. But they got them. They face the same temptations and the same trials and tests as you and I face every single day. I am not going to be a liar and live a lie. Do I condemn, people of faith? No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't become that sacrilegious. I still worship and go to different places of worship. From the mosque, God forbid if somebody's a Muslim, folks definitely want to damn them to hell. They say they don't know what they're talking about. Just because somebody believes differently from you doesn't mean that they're not righteous or that they're not godly. Try reading the Quran for yourself. As a matter of fact, do I have one here? Yep, sure do. Try reading this for yourself and see what it says about Jesus. Read it. Study it. Read it for yourself. Most people just want to read the Bible and don't want to read any other book. And when you search scripture, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of stuff missing from the archaic King James version of scripture. I'll give an example. If you're studying in the book of Kings, it'll say, go to the book of Jasper. Well, where's the book of Jasper at? Who took it out? Why did they take it out? So a lot of individuals don't understand who they really are because they're so caught up into so many different things. And I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. You ready? I've met the worst of people in Christendom, and I've met some of the most morally upright people who wouldn't even do half of the terrible things that church folk do. Now, what is wrong with that idiom? Is that an indictment against everybody? No, it is not. But there's great hypocrisy in every religious sect and in every faith. Take the truth, use it, and move on. Okay? Now, so John H. Johnson built his empire. Do you know how many people that organization employed? Over 3,500 people when he was alive. Nobody could outthink him. Nobody could outwit him. And eventually he received all types of awards and everything during his lifetime. He had a beautiful home on Lakeshore Drive with the most powerful people, and men and women and captains of industry. Don't forget about Fashion Fair Cosmetics, ladies and gentlemen. It was designed for Black people. because the stuff that white people invented wasn't for black skin. So Eunice Johnson, along with great scientists, developed what would work for black people. The art of self-discovery. Now, self-mastery. Now let's deal with empowerment. Don't you know that self-empowerment comes from searching, growing? Oh, getting back to my brothers. I'll get back to empowerment in a minute. So what did I do? I went to a place called the American Academy of Broadcasting when I came out of high school. I was there for 2 years. First year, they taught you comprehensive broadcasting, everything you needed to know to work in a radio station. Second year, they taught you the engineering technical aspect of broadcasting. I hated math, but my God, we had all kind of math. I had to draw schematics and things of that nature, but I learned. Got an FCC license. Check this out. This is a book right here called Georgie Woods, I'm Only a Man by James G. Spady. He was known as the guy with the goods, Georgie Woods. He was more than the DJ. He was a radio pioneer, entrepreneur, activist, philanthropist. And where did Georgie Woods live and work? Right here in Philadelphia. I think he eventually retired to Florida. He was my mentor. He gave me my first job in radio as soon as I came out of the American Academy of Broadcasting. Someone took me down there. I'm not going to mention the name. They said they were going to that particular radio station. I think it was, back in the day, WDAS. They were located right off of Monument Road. And they asked me if I wanted to come with them. I said, sure, I'll tag along. And I tagged along and I listened. Now, you want to become self-empowered? Learn how to listen when you're in the presence of great people. Do less talking. Do more listening. And you'll discover they're basically teaching you from the moment you walk in the door about who they are and how they are. To become self-empowered, you need somebody to teach you. And Georgie Woods became a promoter right there in Philadelphia, where I grew up at. How many of y'all remember the Uptown? Talk to me. There's some people in here who are from Philly. The Uptown up on Broad Street, right up in North Philadelphia. He could get the biggest and the greatest acts from all over the world. They had the Apollo up in New York, but Philadelphia had the Uptown. And why am I talking about Georgie Woods? What did they name after him? A potato chip. A potato chip. He's much more than a potato chip. You know, you got to pay homage to people. Read the book for yourself. Check it out. Check out this book. You know, because if you do, people are going to learn something. You're going to learn a lot about the man, his purpose, and his mission. And it's always good to have a mentor. To become self-empowered, some instances you need a mentor. You become the mentee. What does the mentor do? The mentor teaches you and shows you. Georgie Woods, I'm Only a Man. Check out the book by James G. Spady. So that's how radio. I've been working in radio ever since then. So to become self-empowered or empowerment, individuals have to know what empowerment means. In layman's terms, it's the ability to do what you want to do when you want to do it. Why? Because you have the skills to do it. Nobody can take away from you what you already have. Many of you have great skills already. You're great at thinking, you're great at writing, you're great at analyzing, you're great at speaking. You have great skills, but most people won't use them because they think that they can't do it. Why can't you? Who told you that you couldn't do it? Who told you that you couldn't succeed? Who told you that you couldn't break free from poverty? Who told you that you had to get caught up in the drug game and never had to get out of it? Who told you that you had to have a prison cred in order to be successful? Who told you that if you didn't hang out with the worst element of society that you don't matter? Stop listening to all this garbage. Look, people, I grew up on the hardcore streets of Philadelphia. I've come straight from the hood. So I know the game. I came up through the gang war era. I came up through the mafiosis era. I came up through all the racial wars and all the stuff of that time. But I made up in my mind, in the midst of all that, I made up in my mind that I wanted out. And the out that God gave me was the ability and the art of public speaking. And that's why I read and learned and read and prayed and learned and prayed and read about everything I could find, whether I like the person or not. See, most people, you can't become self-empowered because, well, I don't like them. What does dislike have to do with you getting the ability and the talents that you need so you can take care of yourself? The people that you like are the ones that are hurting you because it's your own little clan, your own little group of people, and people feel good around that. And as soon as you try to break free, oh, you think you better than us? You think you smarter than us? Yeah, I do. Because I realize that this is a road that leads to nowhere. This is a road that will destroy me. This is a road that will hold me in captivity. Somebody says, I'm from Buffalo. All right. I used to hang out in New York City growing up all the time. My mother was always up there. You know, we always were up in New York. I wanted her to move to New York back in the day. But she passed away before she could make that move. She was planning on making it. We were going to move right up there in Harlem, up in New York City. Fell in love with New York first time I went there. So stop listening to people telling you what you can't do. I'll give you an example. Remember when rap first hit the scene? They condemned it. They judged it. We don't want that blank stuff. But who owns the rap industry? It certainly ain't black folk. Because consciously and subconsciously, those millionaires/billionaires that said, you know what we need to do? We need to monopolize this thing. Come on in the room, Bob. Sit down. Shut up. Put out your cigar. I want to talk to you. This is a gold mine. If we can take this and we can some way, somehow back it, finance it, package it, we can own this. Oh, we'll pay them and we'll create some superstars. And we'll even find somebody in New York City and we'll front him all the money. P. Diddy. We'll front him all the money, but we're going to have the power and we'll give him free reign. So how did a culturally expressive language coming from black people who were expressing themselves because they had the hidden rage and all the pain and the heartache and sorrow and poetic lyrics came on the scene. So how did they master it and create millionaires, but they still own it? Let's talk about the late Whitney Houston, God bless her memory forever. They loved her sound. Dionne Warwick, her cousin or her aunt, one of her relatives, she was out there way before then. But Whitney came along at the right time, in the right moment. They packaged her. They manufactured her. They loved her sound. She came right out of Newark, New Jersey. And Clyde Davis and etc. in that group of Whitney became very rich, but they became richer. Quincy Jones, the mastermind, the writer. A lot of folk don't realize he was the band conductor for Frank Sinatra for over 20 years. Let me tell you the reason why I like Frank Sinatra. I still like Frank to this day. I listened to his music. I read books about Frank. When I found out that Frank Sinatra was never a racist, I said, that is somebody I like. Straight up. From Hoboken, New Jersey. Read his life story. It was a melting pot down in Hoboken, New Jersey. Empowerment. If it wasn't for Frank Sinatra, many of the black entertainers of that time who were dealing with racism and bigotry and everything else, they would have never broken through. Never. Frank would go places, Sammy Davis Jr., Lena Horne, Earl, all these great people. You could sing, but then you had to leave. You had to live way on the other side of town. Frank got tired of that stuff. He said, listen, if they can't eat here and sleep here, then neither can I. Well, Frank gets the law. Well, change the policy. You're the owner. Change the policy. Because Frank was serious about it. So I'll never perform here again. And he meant it. You know, I respect Frank Sinatra. Straight up. I respect him to this day. So when I'm on my channel and I'm talking about different political things, it's never personal with me. So it's not personal with me. I can disagree with you politically and don't hate you. Somebody says Frank was in the mob. What does that have to do with him being a decent person? Nothing. See, people better get away from, well, so-and-so was this. Well, F.W. Woolworth was a racist. Yeah, I said it. William Wrigley Jr., racist. Founder of the Hershey Empire, racist. But it didn't their racism didn't stop them from selling chocolate to black people or chewing gum to black people. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? Get beyond certain things. Empower yourself to the point where you could become a game changer. Empower yourself through reading, empower yourself through learning, empower yourself through skills and develop them. If you are a person who is passionate about something, become an activist then and stand for what is right. People can change the outcome of the midterm elections if they just stop whining about everything. You don't think the Republicans know that they're up against a humongous mountain when it comes to the midterm elections in November? Why do you think certain things are happening to distract you and take your mind off of them? Remember the song, War, quote, war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Berry Gordy founded Motown and designed it after the Ford assembly line because he worked there. But he had a vision. He wanted to make music where black people could just sing and create. Motown Records was born. You know, it used to be called, originally it was called Hitsville, USA. I've read his story, and he's still alive today. I think he's in his 90s. Read, ladies and gentlemen, like this book. This is called 1776 by David McCullough. Who's David McCullough? Well, let's look at the back. A Pulitzer Prize winner, author, writer, historian. Whether you agree with what happened in 1776 or not, just know it. Because you may end up on a trivia game show one day. And it might be one of the questions as to, let's talk about 1776 and what happened. And that might be the $1 million question. You know, let me talk about Steve Harvey for a moment. People look at Steve Harvey, look at all the success and everything that he has today. Don't you know that Steve Harvey is the first and the only black host that they've ever had for Family Feud? Originally, it was Richard Dawson. And Steve is making that thing work, whether you agree with Steve Harvey or not. He transitioned from just being a stand-up comedian to becoming a humanitarian philanthropist, a wealthy man, businessman, owner, and host of Family Feud. It's so popular and so great, Family Feud South Africa. Empowerment. And lastly, I'm going to go through a series of books here that I want you to read, if you choose to. It's up to you. If I don't do anything but reach one person tonight, then being up under these hot lights and talking is worth it all. If one person's mind, if a young person, a middle-aged person, or even an old person has an epiphany, an awakening within his or herself, and decide to become empowered and discover who they really are and change the trajectory of their life, I have done my job for tonight. This ain't Fox News, baby. It's Tyrone Bowman live. And I'm going to talk about things that mean something instead of just the recycled stuff over and over again. I'm not a talking head. That's why I don't monetize this channel. I'm not going to let them tell me how to think, how to speak. And you can support the channel if you want to. If you want to send a brother some love to the Cash App, fine. If not, it's all good. I put the Cash App out there and I also give it out. It's $ PIEXEL number 4. $2, $3, $5, it goes a long way. You'll be surprised what a person can do with it. This book right here is called Built from the Fire, the epic story of Tulsa's Greenwood District, America's Black Wall Street. Read it. It's written by Victor Luckerson. Read the book. Check it out for yourself. These are things that people don't know. Morning Haiku by Dr. Sonia Sanchez, the noted poet and professor. I got majority of these books, I got them for free because it was sitting on the table. You'd be surprised. Okay. Joyful Wisdom by Yangji Ming Yor. Embracing Chains and Finding Freedom. It's good for the mind. It's good for the mind. Now, this book right here is called The Courage to Be Free Was a Bunch of Garbage by Governor Ron DeSantis. Know what your enemies are thinking. Know what your enemies are thinking at all times. Critical race theory. It deals with so-called wokeness. And all this is coming from a MAGA mind-infested point of view. Demagoguery of every kind is in this book. It's good to know what he's thinking because if he ever decides to become president of the United States, you can use this book against him. Think. Yep, think. It's one of the greatest books I've ever read right here, The Street Lawyer by John Grisham. I read it. Good book. It's about a metamorphosis of a particular lawyer. Midnight by Sister Soldier. You ever read the Greatest Winter Ever? Midnight. Let me see how many books Soldier wrote, because they usually have it in here. She was demonized by Bill Clinton back in the day. Yep. She's also the author of No Disrespect and The Coldest Winter Ever, a former rapper who became an author. Midnight is about a gangster story, a gangster love story. Check this book out. I've read it. It's good. I think this is my daughter's book. I got to get back to her. And the other books I have. The Appeal by John Grisham. Why is this book important? And I'm going to tell you why. It's about how they recruited a conservative judge and put him on the Supreme Court so he could vote in the interests of corporate America. Don't you know they go on fact-finding missions and recruit people for political office? They don't just pop up out of nowhere. Barack Obama, who became the first president of the United States of America, a junior senator, he was recruited. Granted, he had the skills, educated, but they wanted a certain kind of black man to become mayor. To become the first black president of the United States of America. He wrote 2 books, The Audacity of Hope and Dreams of My Father. Check it out. But this is a good must read. Read it for yourself. The last one book is called You Can Make It Happen. Beloved by Toni Morrison. Read this one as well. Beloved is about you. It's about me. It's teaching you how to love yourself. Love your black skin. Love your black heritage. People have gotten away from say it loud and I'm black and I'm proud. Why? You better learn to say it in the face of opposition. Learn to say it in the face of racism. Learn to say it in the face of economic discrimination. Learn to let them know I am black and I am proud. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter how much you try to erase us and eradicate us from history, I am black and I am proud. Stop running away from your heritage. Stop trying to turn yourself into something that God didn't create you to be. Be who you are, your authentic, genuine self, and you'll rise up to meet the occasion. Now, some of our people have lost their way. Once they get into certain walls of empowerment, then they take the door and they close it so others can't come behind them after they have gotten to where they want to get to. You just look at the Supreme Court. They don't like Ketanji Jackson Brown. They can't stand her, but they love Clarence Thomas. Because Clarence Thomas won't speak up and fight for black people. All his law clerks have been white. What does that tell you? Every one of his law clerks have been white. Not one has been black. Here's one I'm reading right now called An Illegal Immigrant's Journey, How America Became My Destiny by Brenda Amanda Mawaya. I'm going to interview her on my program as soon as I finish reading her book. I'm halfway through it. I think I've only read 100 pages of it, but I'll get through it eventually. Check it out for yourself. Read it. Now, this last book, there's a story behind it. Before I get to that, I want to talk about the consciousness of money. If you want to become financially independent, your subconscious mind has to think money thoughts. Money is more immaterial than material. Someone says, I'm Indian. God bless you. I celebrate your Indian heritage. Money is more spiritual and immaterial than it is material. Where do you think the concept of money came from? Out of the minds of somebody. The first system that they had in America was the bartering system. They didn't have tender. They had a war over tender or paper money. They exchanged goods back and forth. You got something I like, I got something you like. That was considered the money. In biblical days, the more cattle that you had, the more prosperous you were. The more cattle, the more ox, the more donkeys, the more land. That was considered money. That's why where the term shekels and things like that come from. And when they introduced the paper concept of money, they had an outright war because it was something different, something new. Stop being afraid of change. Embrace it. Stop being afraid of doing something different. Think outside the box. Don't become nomadic. Thank you. Think differently. Like many times, especially when I'm dealing with some heated topics, I read all the comments that come across while I'm talking, and sometimes the verbiage that we exchange back and forth. But you know what? I have respect for them because I appreciate their ideas in the comments that they make. Thin-skinned people couldn't handle what I do because they're going to get upset. They won't come back on YouTube. Over 3,000 people have subscribed to this channel for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. For a reason, a definitive reason. And we'll probably get more people to subscribe. I'm on a journey. The consciousness of money, you have to start thinking. Many times I'm going to bed at night. I turn on YouTube without the commercials, and I just listen to people talking about money all night long. Financiers, bankers, financial wizards. I just get it into my subconscious mind. Think about it. And after a while, my mind will process everything I need to know to help me to become that entrepreneur and philanthropist and humanitarian that I'm designed to become and do on this earth. You can't give what you don't have. I don't care how much you pray, how much you fast, how much you wish. If you don't have it, you can't give it. Did you hear what I'm telling you? You can't give what you don't have. If you want to help people, the first person you help is yourself. Help yourself out of poverty, and then you can teach others how to come out of poverty. Help yourself to get off of welfare, then you can teach others how to get off of welfare. Ain't nothing wrong with welfare. I've been on welfare. Shucks, when my mother died, what you think I did? I had to go on welfare. But I didn't stay there. Most people have turned it into a career, like they're going to get an SSI check from it. And that's where the problem comes in at. Everybody needs a helping hand. I don't care who they are, black, white, in between, down in the red states, the southern states. Many of them right now are on welfare. They have to apply for it. Why? Look at the mess that we're in. They didn't want Kamala Harris. And it was racism and bigotry and hatred that wouldn't put the black woman in the White House. And everything she said is coming to pass. Every iota, every scintilla of every word that the former vice president spoke has come to pass and is going to continue to unfold, whether folk want to acknowledge it or not. And MAGA will not acknowledge it because they don't want to admit that they're wrong. You can psychosomatically delude yourself and say, well, this is what I voted for. You're a liar. You did not vote for carnage. You did not vote for chaos. You did not vote for inflation. You did not vote for high unemployment. You did not vote to have Medicaid and Medicare stripped from you. You did not vote to have SNAP benefits taken away from you. You didn't vote for this. You know it, and the populace knows it. But you were played. The race baiting game was played, and you fell into the trap, hook, line, and sinker. And you were psychosomatically induced to thinking that it was just going to affect black people and it, like me, and it wouldn't affect you. How's it going now? I've seen all the regrets on Instagram. To my Latino brothers and sisters, you're a part of it as well. How's it going now? To my black brothers and sisters who helped to vote, how's it going now? Are you happy? Everything that former Vice President Kamala Harris said is true. Now, this book right here is written by Stedman Graham. You all know who Stedman is. You can make it happen. Let me tell you where I found this book at. And I'm going to close on this note. You can make it happen. Many years ago, I was set up, framed, falsely accused, sent to prison for 10 long years. And I'm going to tell you, I wanted to kill everybody. Straight up. If anybody tells you that they've been falsely accused and they didn't have revenge on their mind, they're a liar. I thought about it. I have revenge on my mind. Because they knew they were lying. They knew they set a brother up. And they could care less. I started to say something else. But I promise people I clean up my act on my channel. And I'm going to do just what I said. You know, it's hard sometimes, pow, because I felt it right there, but I'm not going to go there. Promise is a promise. I promised them I wouldn't spar back and forth, you know, with men and women in the comment section. I would be respectful, and I'm going to keep my word. I'm going to do what I said. But I'll put it to you this way. In the midst of injustice, in the midst of false incarceration, I found a call. Two of my best friends were lawyers. And I was curious as to how did y'all get in prison? And they sat me down and they talked to me. This is real rap. I'm not making this up. They sat me down, they talked to me, said, you know, you have a great mind, but we're going to show you how to use it. They said, we think you would make a great lawyer. And I was laughing, and I was cussing them out and everything back then. I said, I don't think I want to be a lawyer. They said, no, we think you make a great lawyer. I said, why? I said, because you connect with people. People listen. You know, you have something to say. They actually sat me down and talked to me, and I listened. And they showed me how to reorganize my mind. They showed me how not to pursue revenge and retribution. They said the greatest way you can get even, know the law. and make it work to your advantage. So they taught me for a couple of years the fundamentals of law, and I became a jailhouse lawyer. And all I did was work on the cases of other prisoners for free. Did you hear what I said? For free. I never charged them anything. PCRAs, petitions, memorandums, etc. And one day I was in the law library. I was in the library. I just happened, it was on a Tuesday, I'll never forget it. I just happened to be over there and I was looking through books and I saw this book. It was covered in dust. I was wondering, what is this book? And I took it and I dusted it off. You Can Make It Happen. A 9-step plan for success by Stedman Graham. I said, how did this book get here? In the law library, in prison. And by the way, I read every motivational book that they had in prison that I could find. I read philosophical books. I read the books about religion. I read books of every kind, you name it, biographies, autobiographies. I had them sending books from the ILL, the Inner Loan Library, from other libraries. I read a book called The Essential Writings of Martin Luther King Jr. I read that book as well. 800-page book. I ain't had nothing but time on my hands. Might as well read. So this book right here is a good book. It's a truthful book. I like the way that it was written. And I've read it several times. You know, check it out for yourself. There's a whole different side of Stedman you never knew. He's not just Oprah's boyfriend. He has a life and a mind all of his own. And this is a great book to read. The consciousness of money. If you want to make money, you got to think money. Legally, ethically, and morally. Now, a lot of the drug dealers from back in the day, they took their money and they parlayed it and they washed it, and then they're doing legal things with it. But you don't have to go down that road with them. You can decide for yourself. Listen, your subconscious mind is going to take in something. It's either going to take in negative thoughts or positive thoughts. Even when we're laying down, going to sleep, your mind is always learning. The mind is always active. So you might as well, if you want to become an entrepreneur, if you want to become successful, if you want to accumulate money and have more than enough for yourself and for your family, think about it. Most people go on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram for just garbage and trash. That's it. And that's what they cycle in a subliminal way through their subconscious mind at night. That's why they wake up so mad and bitter and angry and hateful, because they listen to that crap all night long. But if you listen to stuff like I do, when you go to bed at night about money, I told you, I listen to books about money. I listen to financiers talking about money. I listen to bankers talking about money. It's in my mind. What you think is what you will become. What you think is what you will do. What you think is what you will have. Make no mistake about it. Even the relationship with the Almighty is all in our minds. We've never seen God at any time. Some people proclaim to have seen him. No, they haven't. We've never seen the Almighty. So how do we have a relationship with him? In our minds. So the consciousness of money. You know, I think Reverend Ike, as flamboyant as he was during his time on earth, he was unashamed and unabashed when it came to the subject of money, and he talked about it and taught millions upon millions and millions and millions of people how to have the consciousness of money and how to develop your mind. Somebody said need lawyers. So, oh yeah, that brings me back to my story here. So once I was released, I decided, well, I got a job working as a janitor when I first came home. I made $50 a week. Hey, you got to start somewhere. My brothers and sisters, newsflash for those of you that are coming out, take what job you can get when you first come out. That doesn't mean it's the end of your life. It's a beginning. And be grateful for everybody who helps you and assists you. You know, remember those who sent you the money orders. Remember those who came to visit you. Remember those who sacrificed their lives for you. And they knew you were guilty of what you did. but they just didn't want to throw it up in your face. They knew you did exactly what you were locked up for. I'm grateful for everybody that has come into my life that has helped me along this path and along this way. I'm grateful to the college admissions officer who recruited me to become a criminal justice major. And guess what, y'all? By the grace of God, I'm on my way. By the grace of God, I'm almost finished. Did you hear what I said? I don't take no credit. I said by the grace of Almighty God. Oh, you were facing life. Wow. I give all glory, all praise, and honor to Almighty God. I don't take none of it. None of it. Because He's allowed my mind to become sharper, more alert. And I'm studying. And He's causing me to ace everything. I'm not going to tell you what my GPA is because you would think I was bragging, but it's way up there. All because of His wisdom, His knowledge, His understanding. He's watching me right now as I'm talking on YouTube. He's listening to me right now. I'm going to give Him His props, His kudos, His credit, as we say in the church, quote unquote, His glory. I fired 10. My lawyer became a judge. Wow, that's what I'm on the road to becoming eventually. See, you never know. Listen, we have some of the most brilliant people who come to Tyrone Bowman Live and who are part of this channel. You never know who people are until you talk truthfully. And judges know if individuals are guilty or innocent or not. Prosecutors know if individuals are guilty or innocent or not. They know what they're doing, or else they wouldn't be in a position that they're in. But sometimes people have an ulterior motive. I've spoken to several judges since I've been home. They said, you need to become a judge. I said, we'll see what the future holds. Right now, I need to just get through undergrad and get through law school. That's what I need to do. That's the first thing. And while I'm thinking about it, if somebody's out in the ether, and if you're listening to me, and if you can help a brother get his record clean and straightened out, I'd appreciate the help. Straight up. Holler at me at Tyrone Bowman Sr. at gmail.com. That's Tyrone Bowman Sr. at gmail.com. One more time, Tyrone Bowman Sr. at gmail.com. Many of the people watching me are some of the same people I was incarcerated with. One friend of mine, him and I've been hitting and missing him. I bring him back on my show. He wrote about 10 different books and became an author from a prison cell. Don't tell me what can't be done. You have to use your mind. One day a CO came up to me. This is a true story. This is what he said to me. Quote, Bowman, you know what your problem is? I said, no, what is my problem? You think you're not in prison, but you're a prisoner just like everybody else. I said, let me hip you to something. I'm not in prison. The only thing you have control over is my body and that number that y'all assigned to me. You don't control my mind. You don't control my thoughts. You don't control my destiny. As a matter of fact, I need you to move out of my way because I'm on the beach in Acapulco right now and you're blocking the sun. He was furious. He was enraged because you couldn't break my mind. I wrote a thesis entitled negative thinking. Because when you're in prison, the atmosphere is conducive and engineered to teach you how to think negatively, to think in a negative fashion. Yep, quote, if you don't mind, it don't matter. I agree with that. So, all that was said and done tonight to this topic, the art of self-mastery, empowerment, and the consciousness of money. Now, I'm going to ask you this question as a quote unquote, as I close, like the preacher would say, but never close. What do you want out of life? What are your dreams? What are your goals? What are your hopes? What is your destiny? What is your purpose? Discover. Amen. Paul thought himself happy. I like you, Garmin. Discover. Find out your purpose. Find out your destiny. Find out why you're on this earth. And get busy before it's too late. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all of you for coming on tonight, for stopping by. I appreciate it. All right, I've been where I'm at since yesterday, and it's time for me to shut it down for tonight and get some R&R in because I probably have a long day ahead of me on tomorrow. So by the grace of God, I'll be back on tomorrow, and I hope to see some of y'all coming through. So take care of yourselves, please. Until next time, thank you for watching. Never surrender. Never quit.